Hey everyone, Mauricio here. In this sneak peek video for episode 12, we'll be giving you a short overview of the changes this week at Starbase Texas, with an emphasis on ongoing construction of the build site, as well as the results of the static fire under the orbital launch mount. These images were taken from the flyover conducted yesterday on Wednesday, August 9th, so stay tuned for additional angles, renders, and more in our full-length 20-minute video coming out on Sunday, as well as our Starbase Weekly show on Saturday. First up is Massey's, where we see the footings of the new building to be constructed have been filled with rebar ahead of concrete pouring, which has already occurred in some of them. Although we don't know how much of the purpose of this new building will be, we can estimate that it will be a lot taller than usual, as seen by the abnormally large footings. Next, we slide right to find the booster puckchucker awaiting its next booster. It sure seems like the puckchucker has gotten larger, as it will now also double as a transport stand, where it will transport boosters from the build site to Massey's for testing. This will come in handy when there are no cranes available there for lifting boosters. This footage from Rocket Future shows this process being used for ships, when the ship puckchucker was rolled out to transport S-28 to Massey's a couple of weeks ago. Next up are the two halves of the structural test cage to be used in the testing of S-24.2. Expect exclusive renders and analysis on this in the Starbase Flyover Update episode 12 coming out on Sunday. Finally, we see the hot staging test article on the right, which has likely completed some structural verification testing by now. Moving on to Sanchez, where we see the ground fabrication building has gained roofing framework on both of its lean-tos. We've also noticed its rather peculiar white-colored circular contraption, which we can expect to be the start of a storage tank to be used at the Sanchez site. This settles the mystery of the purpose of all those pilings we saw uncovered in previous weeks, at what previously used to be the scrapyard. Slightly above that sits Ship 28 on the engine installation stand, having work done on it after completing cryogenic verification at Massey's. We can also see Ship 25 was transported to a rocket garden and placed on the stand where SN-15 previously sat. Next up is the build site, where SpaceX is working rapidly to expand production capacity. Here we have Mega Bay 2 construction site, where the last pre-assembled section of Level 5 was lifted this week. Now only the roof remains to be built before Mega Bay 2 is topped out. Moving down, we notice that the massive LR-11000 crane used for lifting the pre-assembled sections has been laid down. So why is this? As seen here, these lifting jibs are due to be installed to extend its boom, enabling it to lift the tall roof segments. In our final stop at the build site, we notice that the bottom portion of this section of the Star Factory Phase 2 expansion has almost been completely covered in roofing framework. Also, this area was fitted with a vapor barrier, indicating an imminent concrete pour. The signature yellow-colored barrier serves to prevent water and water vapor from seeping into the concrete. Before moving on to the launch site, if you learned something new from this video, please leave a thumbs up so that our content can reach a larger audience. Our final stop at Starbase is the launch site. Taking a peek under the ever-changing orbital launch mount, we see a water-cooled steel flame deflector plate system. Here we can compare the aftermath of Booster 9 static fire to Booster 7 static fire. Safe to say that the water deluge system clearly reduces the damage to the launch mount. Tune into a Starbase Weekly or Flyover Update show on Saturday and Sunday respectively for a more detailed analysis. Moving left in the image, we see that scaffolding atop the various water tanks and pressurized tanks here have been removed, indicating that SpaceX is finishing up work on these tanks. Although it's not quite finished yet, over here sits the pair of cradles meant to host yet another water tank, which will serve to further increase the volume of water used during the water-cooled steel plate operations. This tank was sighted entering Starbase on Wednesday night and is likely to be installed by the time you're watching this. You heard that right. The sheer amount of water you saw in Booster 9 static fire test on Monday is actually going to increase after this new tank is installed. Finally, moving up, we see the future additional horizontal cryogenic storage tanks, intended to support up to 9 hot dog tanks. We've already seen the formwork laid, rebar installed, and concrete poured for the first few pedestals closest to the existing tank farm. We can see rebar already installed inside of the remaining pedestal locations, some of which still needs forms prior to pouring of the concrete. When will we see Booster 9's return to the launch site? And will the hot staging ring be ready by then? Let us know what you think in the comment section. And that's it for our brief overview of the changes at Starbase this week. Consider supporting us on Patreon to gain access to premium flyover pictures, This support also helps pay for the expenses associated with the flyover. We are also considering rolling out a new perk which you can expect to hear about in the following days. The link to join is in the description down below. Thank you for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed our content, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on seeing more videos like this. That's all for now.